Well, on March 8th, the world will celebrate International Women's Day to acknowledge the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women and to do our part in promoting a gender equal world. Celebrating this day is clearly in line with Midday Rotary's values that we do what is beneficial to all concerned, that we be fair, and that we build goodwill and better friendships. It's a privilege to reflect on the dignified, brilliant, charismatic women who hold our world together. Women's stories do matter. Collectively, they weave a tapestry of compassion and service that enriches San Miguel in countless ways. And San Miguel is nothing if not diverse. The women in this town exude variety in their backgrounds and talents. I'd like to show you a very short video right now to set the stage for our celebration of women in and around San Miguel de Allende. Manning the controls of our program today, who's done a fantastic job of technically putting all of this together, is our club secretary, Ron Felton. Ron, we really could not do any of this without you. You've done just a super job. And so Ron is at the controls, everybody. You ought to see, he sent me a picture. He's at this, he's got a control room set up, and he's got all these gadgets. You would think that you'd think he's in the control room of a big television studio somewhere. Anyhow, I'd like to introduce now one of my co-narrators. It's Nori Contractor, who will then introduce you to our third narrator, Leila Wright Contreras. Nori is executive director of Patronato Pro Niños. She's of Cuban heritage and a true connector in the San Miguel community. Patronato has offered thousands of dental, medical, and psychological services to families in urban and rural areas. And in light of pandemic risks, Patronato is concentrating on working with other organizations in town to ensure that families are sheltered and fed. Together, Nori, along with Layla, will join me in rotating the narration of our program today. And before we close our program, Jessica Frick Liston will leave us all with some sobering words and heartfelt appreciation for the heroines who are helping us fight the COVID-19 pandemic through these most difficult times. More about Jessica a little bit later on in our program. Nori?
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to start by telling you about our third narrator, Leila Wright Contreras. Leila will have her 10th anniversary with Midday Rotary this May, having joined Rotary at the age of 30, just like her grandpa. She grew up bilingual and bicultural in SMA and graduated summa cum laude from Northern Michigan University with degrees in broadcasting and international studies. She has an MBA from the University of Guanajuato. She is currently a certified interpreter and translator for the Guanajuato court system and various conferences, events, and trainings. She is also an intercultural trainer for several corporate relocation companies in the Bajío region. And as an explanation of how we planned this program, I like to just emphasize that not all superstars wear a superhero cape. You may not have heard of some of them, and that's one reason we are proudly featuring a few lesser known heroines in today's program. They may not all be famous, but they are indeed superheroes in their own way. They are your friends, family, colleagues, bosses, influencers, and leaders. They are using their voices in small and large ways to create positive change. We won't have time to cover all the stories that have been submitted to us today, but we plan on ways to post all of the information for you to see on the Rotary website after our program. Let's hear from our own local poet, Margot Johnson. Margot?
Hi, I'm Johnson.
Margot, you are on mute.
I had unmuted. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thought I'd unmuted. I am Margot Johnson, and I came from LaGrange, Texas, about 4 years ago here, and was very active in our Rotary Club in LaGrange. And I'm delighted to be here and to share my poem with you today. It is called The Way of Women. They stand, often not seen nor heard. They comfort, often without being comforted. They give, often unrewarded nor thanked. They serve, often undertaking the lowest tasks. They volunteer giving a piece of themselves to those who are in desperate need. They feed, they create, they comfort, serve, they shield, their gifts often unknown. A piece of themselves marks their passage, a soft word, a loving touch, an encouraging whisper, selflessly given, gratefully received, perhaps long remembered. It is the way of women, leaders toward peace and conciliation, marching toward progress without conflict. Mothers, daughters, aunts, dreamers, artists, teachers, bus drivers, doctors, janitors, caregivers, firefighters, defenders, feminists, housewives, executives, cooks, farm workers, entrepreneurs, protesters, organizers, supporters. The women past, present, and into the future who have given, are giving, and will give to those who cry, to those who need comfort, to those lost in their pain. The women who have shouted for justice, demanded fairness, who have established schools for libraries, who have protected history and demanded better, who speak for those without a voice. It is the way of women, battling, shouting, whispering, quietening, leading the world to a higher place. This month, let us recognize the strength, the multiple roles, the ability to soothe, the burdens they shoulder, the peace they bring. Let us applaud their struggle for impartiality, their demand for equality, celebrate their reach for deserved recognition, and affirm their successes threaten no one. Who doesn't want to be a woman? For she is the balance in a world of imbalance.
Thank you, Margot. Before I go on, I want to mention that Margot served as Vice President and President of the LaGrange, Texas chapter of Rotary. So she is no stranger to Rotary's mission. Margot is a former banking executive who had her own TV program about the changing role of women in managing their own financial affairs. She hosted authors, social scientists, and politicians on that show. She's also hosted a show highlighting local businesses and has written a weekly newspaper column for most of her adult life. Thank you so much for that wonderful poem, Margot. Congratulations. And now we start with our program, and I'm very honored to present the first two women, and that is Guadalupe Alvarez and Mirna Montes. This duo works together on a variety of community service projects to improve the economic standing of SMA residents. Today, for the sake of brevity, we're highlighting Amigos al Cien, founded 6 years ago by Mirna, with the intention of handing out food despensas. The group has expanded its scope as needs change, with more than 100 volunteers passing through since the start of the pandemic. They distribute food, toys, household items, and much more. And when they recognize the need to go to specific places where people cannot easily go for the things they need, they go to the communities in need. Mirna acknowledges that she shares the credit for the remarkable growth of the programs to her team partner, Guadalupe Alvarez. Among other charitable activities, Guadalupe is treasurer of the San Miguel Community Foundation. Guadalupe works with women learning embroidery as an artistic endeavor that helps them sustain themselves and their families.
Thank you, Nori. Danny Briones has worked for Patronato Pro Niños since 2018. She's active in multiple service organizations. She is the founder and the director of Red de Apoyo por la Salud Mental. The foundation links mental health professionals with persons in need of mental health services and works to promote an understanding among the public as to how one may approach such issues. Danny's personal experience of living with a mental disorder affords the compassion, perspective, and expertise to guide others in similar situations.
And San Miguel's beauty, people, and its long history are internationally famous in their own right. But one young woman deserves a great deal of credit for our city's current cultural recognition. Paulina Cadena promotes San Miguel in places such as Europe, Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina through media venues like the Discovery Channel, for example. Her vision and success earned her the position of Directorate of Culture and Tradition for the city of San Miguel. Since its inception, the office has conducted over 4,500 art, music, theater, and other events and workshops in public spaces and neighborhoods for very diverse populations of all ages.
Next, we highlight Pamela Cordero. She's an actress, producer, horseman, and wildlife rehabilitator. Since the age of 14, she has been involved in theater and dance. From traveling street performance to creating theater festivals all over Mexico, Pamela has performed in over 50 debuts, including many acclaimed works on the San Miguel stage. And throughout her love of the arts, Pamela has always had a passion for nature and is co-founder of Brigada de Rescate, Rehabilitación, Liberación de Fauna Silvestre de San Miguel Allende, which is an NGO working to protect the future of our environment and its wildlife by monitoring living creatures at risk for extinction or genetic endangerment, with a focus on rescue, rehabilitation, and release.
Next, we want to acknowledge Lola Cortina. Lola runs the Santuario Felino Rey Ashoka SMA. She has a passion for cats and works tirelessly to give them food and medical attention. Some cats are feral and they fare better staying on the sanctuary's property, so Lola lets them live out their days under her protection. She offers a service known as TNR, which is trap, neuter, and return, which will allow a cat to live a better life without having multiple litters. If a cat is suffering, Lola seeks a veterinarian services to euthanize it. Part of Lola's goal is to educate the public about the plight of felines without proper care in our community. She finds food for countless dogs and cats in the campo to allow families to avoid the heartbreaking choice of feeding themselves or their animals.
We now turn to Luisa Field, a retired teacher that has been a long-standing donor and charitable worker for ABBA House, an organization that supports migrants passing through Mexico in search of security and sustainable living. Many residents of ABBA House have sustained severe injuries, such as amputations incurred during their migration. The needs of this organization are expanding due to the international turmoil currently underway, especially in Latin America.
And now it's my pleasure to speak about Leticia Fernandez de Noyola. the president of our local Cruz Roja, the Red Cross. Leticia, who's probably one of the most humble people I've ever had the pleasure of working with, only reports to us on the workload of her team, telling us that it has soared by 60% in the past year, in part due to the health restrictions and protocols necessary to protect our citizens and health professionals, all of which require professional training. Over 246 volunteers and paramedics work long shifts in these trying times, helping to direct patients toward the most appropriate care they may require.
This is Muriel Fonseca. Muriel brings a rich, multi-degreed academic background to her work, but those who know her imagine her in nature, rehabilitating and conserving hummingbirds and other native birds, planting pollinator gardens, and learning about growing our own food, bringing an appreciation for all of this to 5 schools in San Miguel through the SMA Audubon program known as Niños y Naturales, which serves about 250 children a year. Muriel is involved in a bi-national program for teaching at the elementary level in the Spanish language. Students in Oregon and in the Mexican state of Guanajuato jointly learn about birds and other species that they share in their areas. She also volunteers for Brigada de Rescate to protect and rehabilitate wildlife so they may thrive in their natural environments.
And here's a real proponent of nature in so many ways. April Gatos leads Audubon de Mexico AC, which aims to focus San Miguel's environment on a resilient, secure, and sustainable path. April has guided the development of Audubon's Niños y Naturaleza and Nature in the City programs. She has also brought the Audubon Society's wings. Audubon addresses issues of climate change, water scarcity, habitat degradation, desertification, and unsustainable development through its service, educational, and recreational programs.
And now it's my honor to speak about Martha Hamill. She is a bioethicist and a thanatologist. She is a leader in bringing hospice to Mexico and is a founder of Mitigare Cuidados Paliativos AC. She served as president from 2016 to 2019. She is also a driving force of the Community Foundation of Don Diego and the chairperson of the Ethics Committee at the General Hospital. Marta has facilitated English and Spanish bereavement groups.
This is Eliana Hill Ziesman, a resident of SMA since the age of 7. Eliana is now 20 and completing her second year of university at a prestigious Canadian university. She's in the Honors League Studies program and has a double minor in psychology and social studies. She managed a full Mexican and American high school curriculum and maintained an above 90 average. A skilled equestrian, Eliana has her own horse and rides daily. She volunteers with Patronato Pro Niños. She helped design and leads an equine therapy program for children with an autism spectrum disorder. She also served as a stage manager for the Gravity Works Circus Aerial Art Show.
Nancy Hodge is the mom of 2 boys and entrepreneur who runs Geek and Coffee, an innovative concept that serves healthy food and helps individuals make the best use of their computers. It also provides COVID-19 vaccine registration for help for the elderly. Several generations of Nancy's family were struck by COVID-19. Until she herself contracted the virus and had to temporarily isolate, she would leave her own family each day to care for her sick family members, then would return home where she would call upon her young children to understand their new safe distancing and sanitizing practices to prevent the further spread of the disease.
Sarah Hodge is the founder and executive director of the Guanajuato International Film Festival, or GIF, which is held each year during the final 10 days of July in the cities of San Miguel de Allende and Guanajuato in Mexico. It is the largest film festival in Mexico and an important platform for young filmmakers in Latin America. Sarah, too, has sustained immeasurable family losses in this pandemic era.
Martha Paulina Gallardo Lopez was 77 years old when the arthritic disease she endured for decades caused her to leave her teaching job of 28 years and she began selling shoes out of her house. By age 79, she had her first store in central San Miguel, and now one finds her shoes all over the world. One cannot tell Martha's stories without admiration and a smile for her unique expression of color and elegant fashion. We lost Martha this year due to the COVID virus.
I am delighted to introduce Chela Martinez. When Chela was only 16 years old, she and her sister Tere began traveling to rural villages in the region to help women organize themselves to build better lives for themselves and their families. The organization, CEDESA, Centro de Desarrollo Agropecuario, has been a partner to Rotary in all of our rural projects. Chela is an example, banding together with others in her community on projects such as building cisterns and dry composting toilets.
It is my pleasure to speak of Angela Nasta. She is a promoter of fashion art that honors our historical ties and supports the financial needs of indigenous families. Before the Spanish arrived in this area, the Otomi people lived in the hills. Sindashi, which means white in Otomi, and Nasta chose the name to represent a blank canvas. Her local employees gained skills in this industry, such as hand sewing, painting, and beading.
When Else Marie Norby came to San Miguel de Allende in 1997, she wanted to share her musical talents and artistic interests with children. This passion evolved into Ojalá Niños, where for 12 years, children studied and enjoyed arts, literacy, music, sports, health, environmental, learning, and social activism. Else Marie retired a year ago from Ojalá Niños, which continues as a permanent learning center in San Miguel Viejo under the guidance of a board and director.
Greta Ortega Castañas was a championship swimmer and spent most of her adolescent life in the pool. She participated at the state and national level and was selected for the Central and Pan American Games and the Central American University Championships. She was the regional champion in 1998 and also participated in the national triathlon in 2000. She studied at Le Cordon Bleu in Mexico City, where she received a diploma in cuisine and pastry. She has a master's degree in nutrition from the Latin American University. And in 2009, she opened her own restaurant in San Miguel, becoming a staple in the San Miguel culinary scene. Greta is also very generous with her time and can be found volunteering her cooking talents to NGOs across San Miguel.
We are so lucky to have Susan Pitlock. Without a doubt, Susan is a connector in the SMA community, even though she resides in the US. Susan founded and administers the online group known as the Civil List, where people get advice and share information about events. Not an easy task, keeping San Miguel's opinionated participants within the scope of the Civil List's purposes. Susan is a benevolent moderator and keeps us all civil.
This is Trish Snyder. Trish has applied her background in program development and fundraising across multiple areas of need since her arrival in San Miguel in 2005. She organized the Walk Against Violence to benefit CASA's domestic violence program for 6 years. She helped Indigenous midwife students complete their 4-year course of study. 7 years ago, she founded Ser Mujer, a group of Mexican, Canadian, and U.S. women of all ages to highlight the struggles and successes of women around the world during Women's History Month. This year, Ser Mujer will focus on raising awareness and resolving the problems of human trafficking and the disappearing women of Guanajuato.
Laura Torres Septien moved from Mexico City and has resided in San Miguel for 18 years. She proudly runs the historic Morada Hotel, one of San Miguel's more famous, located in a small 18th century mansion. The house was used as a post office and its patio for stagecoaches more than 200 years ago. Laura presided over the local hotel association and is currently the head of San Miguel's tourist department. Laura is also president of the Women's Executive and Entrepreneurial Association in Tourism and a member of Guanajuato's Security Board. She is also the president of BASMA, a food bank here in San Miguel, and works with Corazones Unidos to help acquire medical equipment for the Red Cross and the General Hospital.
Well, we need to wrap up today's program by acknowledging that without a doubt, every one of us has been deeply affected by the coronavirus pandemic. And the many women who have toiled in the fight to keep our community safe deserve an entire program unto themselves. More about that more towards the end of the month. But all we can do today is give them our thanks. To do that on our behalf is Jessica Frick-Liston. Jessica is part of a group of healthcare workers that have worked alongside so many other amazing women with a shared goal of providing education, services, and resources to the community during this difficult time.
Thank you, Skip. I can't tell you how humbled I am to be able to stand in solidarity with so many fierce women of our community, to be able to recognize and honor the profound and tireless work that they do each and every day. As the COVID-19 pandemic passes its first anniversary in the world, and the global death toll stands at more than 2.5 million lives, women across the world are rising to the challenge of humanitarian work in their communities. They are superhuman in their perseverance and compassion, and in their hope that together we can achieve a better world for all. A predominant and prevailing thought seems consistent in my mind this past year when I think of the tremendous challenges we have all faced, and that is, I am thankful. I am thankful that my eyes can see the vista of heroines around me. I am in awe of each and every one of you, and I am overwhelmed by the unquestionable strength and character you exude every single day as you stand up and show up to save lives. I am thankful for the sisterhood in our volunteer and nonprofit community. The work being done on the local level is profound, necessary, and truly resonating. The work is not easy, and it's not about glory or recognition. These women are simply doing what needs to be done. We have female leaders across SMA who are committed every day to helping so many people survive and live stronger, safer lives. I am thankful for our community at large, for the points of intersection where women in private and public and government sectors step together in ways, both big and small, to meet critical needs and address real-time issues. I am thankful for the partnerships within that wide community that make change possible and make impact immediate. I am thankful for the kind hearts and passionate work of so many motivated women volunteers and professionals who come together to make SMA a safer, healthier, and stronger city. I have witnessed so many shining examples of the power of women during this pandemic. Women who without hesitation rise up to support families who are facing unthinkable challenges. I have witnessed them rallying around a care center who thought all hope was lost, offering their unlimited support, resources, and hope for genuine change. I have seen them juggle funds between their own organizations to give it to the one that needs it the most at the time. I have seen them give again and again to support others they don't even know, to clothe them, to feed them, to protect the most vulnerable. And I have watched them hold vigil at the darkest of hours. It is overwhelming to see these women reach out to one another on the level that is occurring every single day of this crisis. And I am so grateful to bear witness to the generosity of their giving hearts. Do you know what a crisis does? It comes into our lives and we watch everything we thought we needed fall away. We live in a world where heroes don't wear capes, but they are all around us, and they are using their voices in small and large ways to help us all pick up the pieces. Together, I know we will get through this. I have so much to be thankful for in my life. And one thing I am so very thankful for today is the sisterhood I have found in this community. In the smallest of circles, in the broadest of terms, I believe in these powerful women, and I am thankful for the potential that they hold.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above was only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one.
Well, there are countless women in our community who deserve special recognition. As you might imagine, it's absolutely impossible to try and recognize all of them during today's presentation because of our time constraints. But here are just a few that we'd like to acknowledge right now. Ron, if you could go ahead and roll that video. Well, there are so many with countless stories. Everybody has a story, and certainly the women of San Miguel de Allende are very, very inspirational. That concludes our program as we celebrate International Women's Day, which is actually going to be on March the 8th. We thank all of you for joining us today. I think we've had darn near 100 people with a combination of Zoom and also on YouTube. So we thank you for joining us today. Coming up on March 23rd, we will take this one step further as we celebrate our Citizen of the Year. That's all coming up on March 23rd, and certainly you're invited to join us then. We hope that you do, as well as every Tuesday that we have our meetings. That concludes today's meeting of the San Miguel de Allende Rotary Club, Midday Rotary Club. Our club will have our board meeting immediately after this. Again, thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.